Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Freebeat, and I'm kind of excited for today's video. This right here is the Alesis Micron, and this was actually the first synthesizer I ever owned. I got this in 2009, actually, as a way of, you can see it's very dirty, as a way to get keyboard sounds into the progressive rock band I was in at the time. And we did a lot of Rush and a lot of our own stuff that needed keyboards, and we were a three-piece. And so I researched for a keyboard that could provide a whole bunch of different sounds, as well as do some pre-recorded stuff. So you can actually do like patterns and sequencing on this as well. And the cool thing is that it had the 5-pin MIDI connectors on the back, so we could put a pair of or a set of foot pedals hooked up to it. So some of those sequences could be triggered by the bassist or the guitarist with their feet, much like Rush does. So I thought it'd be fun. I busted this out of the storage unit today. I thought it'd be fun to play around with it and show you guys some of the sounds on here and just kind of in general all about this guy. So let's get started. Let's jump into a bass. There's a ton of presets on here, and they're almost all usable. Sorry, my arm is blocking the camera, but let's see here. Yeah, there's some really deep basses on here too. You got standard stuff like pitch bend, your modulation here. It's actually a digital analog modeling synth. So it's not analog, but it models how an analog synth behaves digitally. So you can create your own sounds. It's got frequency modulation as well. You can set these three knobs to basically whatever parameters you want. I never really got into the synth design aspect of it. Some people went really nuts on this thing. But in my opinion, there were just so many presets already that you really didn't need to make your own. You can hear some vibrato there. I don't really know what that does. I'm very new to electronic music, like I've said many times. That's the amount of frequency modulation. You can get really crazy with it. So here's... This one can do your release time. And you can, of course, go into the settings, and there's, a full envelope for each oscillator. I think it's 3 oscillators per voice. But, yeah. You can see as we crank this one, these are basically shortcut knobs for when you don't want to deep dive into the menu. Oh, this is kind of like adds like a white noise. So yeah, tons of stuff you can do with it. Let's see here. 3 octaves, 37 keys, 8-note polyphony, which is really cool. Trying to find another one of my favorite basses. Oh, there's a Taurus bass that I really like. Super Mini. This was one of my favorites too. I like that one a lot. Yeah, here's Taurus bass pedals. Oh, let's go up an octave. That's really good. I love that sound. We use that in a ton of Rush covers. Of course, that's all over their music, like in Tom Sawyer and Spirit of Radio, all that classic like Moving Pictures era stuff. There actually is a bass preset called Tom Sawyer Bass, which it does a pretty good job of emulating that classic sweep. But we did we used an actual sample of it, I think. So now we're in the leads. Let's see. And of course, you could set the pitch wheel to do anything you want. You could set your 2 sliders here to do anything you want. You could set your 3 knobs to do anything you want. There's a couple programs you can use on Mac and PC to edit the sounds there, because otherwise you only have this one little display right here to edit your sounds, and there's probably 70 or 80 pages of parameters on this thing. Like, it's nuts. There's like a classic mini Moog kind of lead. All kinds of crazy stuff in here. That one's considered a lead. One thing I like about some of the leads that are non-polyphonic is you can hold like a bass note and then kind of like... Actually, let's go up an octave. Let's play Thunderstruck by AC/DC. You know? All kinds of fun to be had with these sounds. This was, I think, one of my favorites. Super fun. God, yeah. Some of the sounds were like modeled after songs and they were named, so this one is called like You Crazy Diamond for obvious reasons. I forgot it's not polyphonic. You know, all kinds of stuff here. Wowza is this one here. Let's I keep trying to play chords. So now we're in the pad section. There are 130 different pad presets. Some of these actually might be mine. There we go. Velocity-sensitive keys, obviously. All kinds of fun stuff on here. My band used this one a lot, specifically the concert pad. Just because it had a really, really nice... I don't know, it was really nice to emulate like a choir or something. We used this one for like the background of Time, I believe. We covered Pink Floyd's Time, and I forgot the chords in that song. I'm pretty sure it's just like... No, that's not it. Oh well. But over the guitar solo and the chorus, you know, you could do all kinds of fun stuff with this. Mission by Rush. That's one that uses that. And of course, there were a whole bunch of effects too, and crazy filters. I never got too much into that stuff, but this is probably my favorite, just like pick up and play synth. Dutch choir. And in the 10 years I've had this came out in 2004. I've had it since 2009. In the 10 years I've had this, I've never really used everything. Not even come close to scratching the surface. I mean... There's just so much in this synthesizer. I would love to start using this on the channel for something. And we haven't even gotten into the pattern sequencing or anything. Like, this thing is just nuts. I kind of wanted to make this video as like almost like a PSA. These are still going used online for like between $300 and $400, and that's a steal. This thing, like, if you were in a pinch, this thing, you could do a whole album on this thing, because it's got drums too, it's got sound effects, it's actually got a vocoder built in. Let's see, there's, you know, here we are in the string section. Oh, that's kind of loud. All kinds of string patches, kinds of, like, brass. That's super, super classic right there. Super, super classic. Bunch of keys, too. That's not the right chord. Just kind of noodling. Not a lot of, like, not really an actual piano sound. Some people have made some pretty decent ones on here, but a lot of good organ, and this one's called, Oktoberfest. All kinds of fun stuff. Just all kinds of good stuff. Phantom of the Ion. Yeah, man, a lot of memories coming back. Then there were just some fun sounds that didn't really fit any category. So like this one was called In Harmonics, which was supposed to emulate like guitar harmonics, which is super cool. Like Red Barchetta from Rush. Whole bunch of stuff. Here's a fun one. That one's called Jump. Let's see. A marimba phone. What? Oh, I've never used this one, really. Cool. Metallic body. And, of course, these are all fully customizable and tweakable, and you can do whatever you want. Tons of drum sounds. And, again, the ability to make your own. Sound effects section. This is where you'd find a vocoder. Dead Pac-Man. Let's go down an octave. Let's see. Dog versus cat. Just wacky stuff. Frankenstein. Helicopter. Sorry, I'm blocking the camera. Completely blocking the camera. Howling dogs. Insane dentist. Just some really fun stuff in here. Seafoam. Very cool. Yeah, and then all these different ways to edit the sounds and everything. Tons of keyboard shortcuts that I don't even know about. Then there's the rhythm section, which has, all these different drum beats. So how it worked is you had the lower octave was the rhythm, and then the individual kit pieces were stored up here. So, you could play your own stuff. And you could make your own presets. Like here, I have 309 different rhythm patches, which seems crazy. Then there's also patterns, which you could make different patterns from different sounds. And these would play, like you'd hold it down, and it would play a whole pattern. But then there was the most powerful feature of this thing, which was the setup section. So basically with the setup section, you could have any key do anything you want. And really, you were only limited by the 8-voice polyphony. So you could have any key do whatever you want. So you could have, like, your first octave could be bass notes. Your middle octave could be, like, a lead. This up here could be some, like, arpeggio stuff you wanted to add in. And then you could also, like, specify any key you wanted, really, to, like, start a rhythm, stop a rhythm, just anything. You could do a whole complete song like that. So, for instance, when we would play, let's say, well, we're going to go to another Rush reference here. We're going to say subdivisions. And you could also set any key to any note. And same thing with any pattern. You could have any pattern played by any voice. It's mind-blowing what this thing can do. So, here we've got a patch called Subdivisions. So, if you don't know, there's a keyboard solo in Subdivisions. And then over the keyboard solo, there's also bass and like Taurus bass and guitar. So the guitarist plays his guitar and also plays the bass notes with his feet, while the bass player plays the keyboard solo. So in order to do that, we had these three notes here, and it's in G. So I set this C pedal to a bass in G. You guys cannot see that right now, actually. Sorry. This right here, so that's actually a G, even though I'm hitting C, and then A, and then B. And we set our MIDI bass pedals to these three notes for the guitarist, and then the bass player would come and use these keys here to play the melody. So when you combined it, it would sound, you know... just like that. So that's a very simple way that we use the setup feature. But for instance, okay, another Rush reference. Sorry, we played the Rush song "Time Stands Still," which has a heavy keyboard sequence, but the bass guitar is still playing, and the guitarist was actually having to I forgot what the guitarist did, but anyway. Oh no, he just played this, that's right, but he didn't really play the piano, so he would just hold down this one key right here. And then also, on the bass player's foot pedals, there's chords in the chorus. And those chords have nothing to do with what key they're on, really. Up here in the verse, there's a little sequence. So those could be played by the foot pedals. There's kind of a vocal thing in the bridge, right there. Yeah, and then... whoop. There we go. If you double tap the setup button, it'll mute whatever sounds are playing. And then these two buttons, these two keys were free on the foot pedals to trigger our sampler, which had some backup vocals. But yeah, this thing is just a beast of an instrument. I'm trying to, let's find a good, like, example of a phrase or a setup. There we go. But you can see. Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to remember how to use the thing. That was not very good sounding at all, but you get the idea. You can basically put whatever you want anywhere on here. And, there's a latch feature, so... So actually, there you go. You can hear that's where the patterns change. So anything below this C will drop down the octave, which we'll put that right here. Or sorry, this one. So right here, anything below this is this sequence here. Sorry, this C. Or this D. You can hear that's where it changes. There we go. That's where it changes to a new pattern. And you could just have whatever you want, wherever you want. This thing is a beast of an instrument. If you can find one of these anywhere used for, like, I'd say less than, like, $600. Yeah, it's kind of ugly. It's kind of a pain in the butt to program. But it's, like, it is an amazing instrument, a beast of an instrument, and there's like no limit to what you can do. It's kind of similar. It reminds me of the OPZ kind of that way, and that like you're really only limited by your creativity. So that's all this video was going to be. It's just kind of an overview at this and how we used it. And really, I just realized that how inept I am at actually playing it. But it's such an amazing instrument, and if you guys can find one of these, like I said, under $500 or so, it's totally worth it. This thing is amazing, and you will not regret it. And of course, this video is not sponsored by Alesis or anything. This is just me wanting to talk about my, favorite synthesizer from back in the day. It's still pretty sweet. I'll probably still use it here on the channel now that I brought it into the studio. Anyway, go ahead, leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. If you disliked it, you can click the dislike button. That's what it's there for. Either way, please click subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!